Welcome to Levels of Connection, where we discuss how human connections work and why they're so important. Welcome to Levels of Connection. My name is Stefanos Papadopoulos, and my guest today is Baris Tomas. Baris is the co-founder and CEO of Talent Hacks, where they are literally reinventing and modernizing corporate training on a global basis. Baris had a really interesting way of describing the different levels of connection in his own very visual and graphical way. Take a look to find out. Baris Tomas, welcome to Levels of Connection.
Thank you very much, Stefan. Good to be here.
It's really good to have you on. It's an honor to have you and a privilege. I know you have an extremely busy schedule. You're the CEO of Talent Hacks. I'd really love for you to tell us a little bit more about that, and then we can jump into it.
Yeah, CEO and co-founder here at Talent Hacks. We're based in Cyprus. We're a people development company that focuses specifically on teams. And we've been in business for 12 years now, doing work all over the world.
Really good to know. Do you focus, what's your, I know that you're having also a new product launch. Do you want to talk to us a little bit about that?
Sure. The product launch is related to an online offering that really addresses the way people learn today. We focus on a trending area called edutainment, where people learn in a more fun, entertaining way. And so we're focused. All our attention right now is to get people to become aware of this product and to take this online course, which is, I guess, the one-liner for this is it's almost like watching The Office, the Netflix series, but at the same time learning for professional purposes. That's what we're
Nice.
working on.
Thanks for sharing that. Really looking forward to that launch and to experiencing that. And obviously our subject is levels of connection and our curiosity about how people connect, why, and what the important of that is in our lives, either personal or professional lives. And your career has spanned the globe. You've been in C-level executives in the Americas, in Cyprus, and you have a global reach with your client base as well. What does even connecting mean to you, buddy? Let's start from there.
I guess the answer to that would depend on when you're asking me at which stage of my life. But right now, the stage of my life, which is also labeled by being responsible for the duties of CEO level, connecting for me is the ability to create relationships and contacts with people that help you understand what good looks like. It's the ability to know that you not only have a large network, but you have a network that gives you a good sense of quality and a network that allows you to understand what is relevant and what is worthwhile with all the stuff that we're exposed to every day. What is stuff that you filter? So people who give you substance, to me, is people that I aspire to connect with.
Mm, mm. That's really interesting. And how do you go about doing that?
You can say two ways. Organically, it just happens, circumstance, and I love it when that happens. And I try to expose myself to situations that cater to that. And strategically, you need to constantly explore and find people that you believe you can create value for, and they can create value for you.
And how about if you have people I feel uncomfortable connecting, or, you know, what advice would you give to me?
If there's somebody that I feel uncomfortable connecting with, it's not their problem; it's my problem. So it's almost like an insecurity, right?
Okay.
I would argue that why are you feeling uncomfortable connecting with somebody? And most of the times is a status issue. Is that person is accomplished more, done more, is got more attention than I have, and they're just feels like they're out of reach. For me, it's always been an understanding that at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you're Elon Musk or Paris Thomas from Talent Hacks. We're both human, and it's just about creating a way to pique their interest in what is it that you can offer them. I feel that a lot of times people approach connections with a very narrow-minded, selfish viewpoint. What can I get from them?
Mm,
the game just gets a lot easier. And I call it a game because it is really a game of feeling what can I give them and what can I give them without expectation of anything else in return. And if there's authenticity there and it's something genuine, the value will come back one way or another. It will.
What's the can you remember any cases before you were more comfortable with it before? It sounds like it's a part of your life. It's sort of a, part of your being to connect, and you go into it in a natural flow. Can you remember any examples before you got to this level?
I'll Yeah, the first thing that came to my mind is it's actually one thing my mother always says. She says that the work isn't done by God; it's done by angels. And so that's always resonated with me. An example I can think of is one of my first jobs that I got as a student. Still hadn't finished my bachelor's, and I was doing a co-op program in Canada. I was there to this particular company waiting to be interviewed, and there was this receptionist who arguably you're stressed, I'm in a state of mind that there's a lot going on in my mind. I'm not supposed to meet the person who's going to make a decision about me getting a job or not, and it's definitely not the receptionist.
Hmm.
But the thing, that sort of mantra came to my mind. It's the angels that do the work, and I saw her as an angel, and I said, you know what, I can also be polite and courteous and kind to some other person who has nothing to do with the decision. And so we, had a really nice conversation, and we're smiling and just exchanged a whole bunch of stories while I waited for the interview to happen. Well, it turns out that it was neck to neck between me and one other person, and the person who broke the tie was the receptionist.
Nice, nice. What do you, using that example, what do you, since, and you mentioned your mother, what do you teach your kids around connecting?
Um, well, my kids are fairly young to be in a position to teach them, but you always do in one way or another. So at the stage of life they're at right now, um, I teach them a lesson that I didn't learn until later in life. That it's not only okay to connect, but it's also okay to not connect. Right? My 5-year-old daughter, she may have an issue with one of her friends who's not playing with her, or she doesn't want to play with her,
Mm.
and I also tell her that that's okay. It's not always about being liked. It's not always about making sure that you have a positive outcome. Sometimes dealing with a negative outcome, even though it hurts a little bit, it's also okay. And that sort of builds resilience. And to be honest, I wish I had learned that earlier, because as a kid, I was obsessed with creating connections and be liked. And I think
Okay.
that's a lesson I'm now, one way or another, trying to teach my kids, that it's also okay to, be disappointed sometimes. It's part of life.
I love that. It's okay not to connect.
Hmm.
Uh, Really valuable lesson. When I was a kid, I had no idea how to connect. I was like, I didn't know how that game, as you said, was played. But my curiosity was bigger than my ignorance or my fear. So I just fumbled around life, trying to understand how this game works. And I'm still learning. And
Yeah,
that's one of
always.
the big reasons why I created this channel, to have, valuable conversations like this one, and share, you know, insight. People like you share, obviously accomplished professionals sharing their insights and experience with people that are going to be watching this, because it's something that is not unique to us. The having difficulty connecting. I see it all over the world with the work that I do, either with public speaking or with coaching or with consulting.
Yeah.
That it's it's a seemingly simple proposition, but not not everybody's comfortable with it. Let's put it that way. What's your experience been?
I mean, I'll echo what you say, because nowadays it's become, I think it's become a bit more murky. Connecting with people is often seen as adding them on your LinkedIn profile, or connecting or following them on Instagram or social media, and especially the younger generation feels that that's connecting. And that's where the older generation, I guess it would be us now, we criticize that, right? We judge that. In fact, we when we are in conversations around this topic, it seems that we're the ones that are in the defensive and the senile point of view that, oh, people don't connect the way they used to in the past. And you question it now because the channels have changed, the media has changed, the medium of communication has changed. But if you look, you're kind of like under the hood. What really matters is that you have some very few meaningful connections. Everything
Mm,
else is noise that you sometimes listen to and sometimes you ignore. And so the ability to say that I have a number of people I can count on maybe two hands I have a deep, meaningful connection with, whether it's through Instagram or TikTok or any channel, or whether it's in person and we grow up together. It doesn't matter as long as you feel it's meaningful. I don't think that's changed. It doesn't matter what the generations are, what habits they're building now, and how they're coping with it. And arguably that's part of the conversation and why we're so senile about it is because cynical about it is because we feel that they're not coping with it, right? There's
mm,
this need for better relationships and more meaningful relationships that are probably contributing to all sorts of mental issues that we're facing in the world today. And the older generation is looking at that and saying that's because you're not, you're stuck on a screen. You're not really getting out to talk to people and create connections. So they haven't figured it out yet. But going back to your question, I'm a big believer in that through life, you're going to have a certain small group of people that are going to be the ones, your compatriots that got you through life. And
mm.
that's not a number bigger than 10.
And you mentioned the different, we're obviously talking, and the title of this channel is Levels of Connection. And you mentioned a couple of, the one extreme sort of uh more impersonal is the connections that you have online of people that you've never met. And the other one is perhaps your childhood friends that you're in contact with and you are really close to, or your family. Talk to me a little bit about how you see these different levels, if you have a definition for the spectrum.
Yeah, I view this as I view connections as, I would say, concentric circles. You have your
Mm,
deep personal connections at the core, and without these, nothing else exists, nothing else matters. And then you have your second ring, let's say, could be your friends and mentors, the people you learn from, the people you look up to, the people that help you push your comfort zone. And those are in the middle. Then you have outside of that your, let's call them your acquaintances, right? People that you, if you were to put an analogy, I have thousands of people on LinkedIn. I have no idea who they are. Arguably, I'm a first degree of connection to them, so I have a means to contact them, and maybe we have a couple of things in common that led us to connect. So they're an acquaintance. In a digital manifestation, it's a contact on LinkedIn. In a physical manifestation, is somebody you met at a trade show and you got their business card. It's the
mm,
same thing, right? You kind of, if somebody asks you, your best man is talking to you, do you know this guy? Yes, I do, is the answer. And then you explain how little you know them, but the knee jerk was yes, I do. So that's your third ring, your acquaintances. And then there's I would say there's even a fourth ring outside of that. The outermost ring is the potential connections that exist because of your other connections. So it's the people you don't know, but you know how you can know them. I know somebody who can introduce me to, right? And then after that, there's everybody else. So you can only concern yourself to up to a certain degree. But
mm.
I view it in this way: without the core, there nothing else really matters. And that's where I argue generationally, that core is a bit suffering. A lot of people have a lot of people in their acquaintances, but how many people are really truly meaningful connections that you can rely on, that become the scaffolding for everything else at the core?
I really like the visual, model that you created for us. Um, and how does this, your view about connecting and what you just shared, how does that translate or seep into the work that you do?
Um, every day. I In my 40s, I learned a valuable lesson, which is everybody needs at some point in their life a tribe. I like that word.
Mm,
a tribe of people who you've selected, not your family that's in the core that you didn't select, but they'll be there hopefully, in case of emergencies or emotional or physical. But then there's that tribe that's the second ring. The second ring to me is related to more like, if we go to Maslow's theory, is a ring that enables that self-actualization path to happen, whereas the first ring is more survival, right?
Mm.
And so the second ring, your tribe, is what helps you know what good looks like, push yourself because you see others who've done it, people you use as sounding boards. And I've developed such a tribe of individuals that we meet very frequently, and we all have that one common thing, which is we appreciate and we recognize and really value the fact that we can learn from each other, right? It's not a tribe where you can just only take from, but there has to be something that you can give, where you feel that you belong, and you don't have to justify why you belong or be worried about getting ousted because of whatever reason. There's that sense that maybe it does come with age. Maybe I kind of hope that I learned sooner, but maybe it's something that comes with maturity and age, which also is a function of your own securities or
Mm.
insecurities,
Mm.
right? So at some point in your life, you might feel like, I know enough to feel confident enough to belong in a tribe of people. And that tribe maybe changes depending on the decade in which you're in your life. It could be your high school friends in the beginning, your university friends in your 20s, your colleagues in your 30s, and then, more selectively in your 40s. And, well, I'm not in my 50s yet, but we'll see what happens then.
I love that. And you do a lot of work with organizations, with senior leaders and mid-level leaders. If you had to create a system for
Yeah.
them to make connecting a habit, how would you form that and how would you share that?
That is already stuff that we talk about on a frequent basis with our audience, being especially when we address executive leaders, and it basically goes back to the ability to know what value you contribute and how you can offer that value to other people that you can call a tribe. So if we were to make it practical, senior leaders exchanging ideas and having a sounding board group of people who are also at the same level and share the same pain. One manifestation of that, for example, is you see many CEO clubs, right? People
Mm.
say it's really lonely at the top, and
Yeah.
and to be able to say that I know other people who also feel that it's lonely at the top. It's almost like you already addressed that. You know that there's something common together, and then you can help each other. So finding people who are on the same path. What I typically do is, especially when we work with large enterprise multinational companies, is I get people to set up a buddy system of somebody who is completely outside of their context, at least when it comes to the region they're in. So maybe from a different continent altogether, but share the same sort of pain of responsibility that they do. And then that becomes a bit of a support mechanism for them. Um, I think the often sought after support is what we usually know as mentors. And
Mm.
I find that although there's a lot of power in mentorship, when not done correctly, and oftentimes I see it not done correctly, it just creates this level of checkbox mentality where I need to connect with this mentor. It's part of what I have to do. And then you're trying to find stuff to talk about. It's rare that you find that really amazing frequency where both people are vibing and there's a give and take relationship. I feel it's even more powerful to find that mentorship within your peers from
Mm.
different outside of the box locations. At least that's when you have a multinational, it's easy to do. But even within local companies, to find other people in their local market but outside their company who share the same pain. Nothing gets people closer together than having the same pain, same enemy, same mountain to climb.
So reaching out, finding those similarities, is what I'm hearing, and really sharing as to what's on your mind, what's the challenge that you're facing, um, and finding that common ground is what you're suggesting brings that connection closer.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
Um, is there a port? I mean, I know connection is can be such a broad and a specific subject. But in your new product, are there element? And I know you do these amazing retreats as well that bring people extremely, uh, close and share amazing experiences together. Talk to us a little bit about that and the methodology around what you do.
In anything we do, whether it's an
Mm.
in-person retreat or if it's an online product, there's always going to be multiple aspects of connection. I don't feel that, let's take it for a second to look at the world of online learning. I don't feel people will learn in that way, in a meaningful way. It probably works a lot better for technical skills, but for soft skills where you need to really look at different vantage points and take different perspectives, there needs to be that moment where you're having human interaction. And there's an
Hmm.
advent of AI coaches and all that kind of stuff now. Okay, fine, I get it. There's super amazing value that can come out of that, but it's still super important to have another human being that shares in your pain to be able to exchange ideas. So, we do that in the online sense by getting people together, having coaching sessions with them, doing workshops with them virtually, getting them to connect as buddies as part of the program that they take online. But especially when we do this also for the retreats that we do, it's the ability to, and we do these retreats out in nature, up in the mountains of Cyprus, to go for a scheduled walk and select who you're going to walk with and just have a chat while you're walking out in nature with fresh air. That result is absolutely incredible. And when you look at the feedback, people say, "Thank you for getting me to do that," because that allowed me to open up and see that I am not alone. Other people have the same suffering. I got, encouraged and built my confidence because I saw that what I thought was a problem compared to some other people's problems maybe is not such a big deal after all. So really changing your frame of mind and walking with people to have a chat is extremely powerful.
So you recognize the importance of connecting and also applying that to the online content and the online interaction that your clients have.
Yeah, and it's part and parcel with everything we offer. I think that
Mm.
without that connection, everything else is just blah blah. There needs to be that connection, whether it's connection to people or to content through people.
How were you as a kid connecting or interacting?
I was the guy you call on a Friday night to see what we're doing tonight. So
Okay.
quite extroverted. I didn't have, in all fairness, I didn't have any troubles connecting with people.
Mhm.
And I remember as a kid, even younger, I'm 8 years old, 9 years old, going to some relative's place, people we didn't know, for example, and I remember my dad always saying that we don't worry about this one. He's okay. He mingles, right? And so I didn't have an issue. I would always find stuff to talk about. I always get fascinated and curious about other people. So just asking them a
Mhm.
question, let them do the
Mhm.
talking, and then you maneuver around it. But yeah, I've always been extroverted and good at creating what I labeled back then as friendships. But now
Mhm.
I would say those were just acquaintances.
Mhm. And it sounds like you took that, that way of being, the way of life, and it's influenced all your major milestones in life. So what was the importance of connecting through the different countries and the different careers that you've had so far?
It's always been there. It's always been important. It's not something that I think it maybe arguably part of it is embedded in my personality, in my DNA. It's always been um, a core value of mine to create connection with people. It just the outcome or the how it gets manifested in different decades of one's life might change a little bit, and what changes is the stuff that goes on around you. So I would have a lot of time as a 10-year-old, but I don't have a lot of time as a 25-year-old doing,
Mm.
my MBA degree or, so you have to get a bit more selective.
Okay.
And you also realize, and you're being told by everybody, your net worth is your network is your net worth. So just go out and network with people. And so for me, it's always been, and in Cyprus, we always say it's who you know, it's not what you know, but we mean that in a negative connotation when we talk about,
Mm.
having a pool or in Greek meso, right? To
Mhm.
to it's who you know. And so that's the negative aspect. But at the same time, there's a positive aspect to knowing people because it helps hopefully both sides. So it's always been part of my my mantra to through my studies, through my career, to network with people, to get to know them. When I think of them, to send them a message.
Mm.
Now and again, to actually pick up the phone and call somebody, and the reaction I get is that, oh wow, this wasn't a scheduled Zoom call. That's nice to
Yeah.
hear from you, because nobody
Yeah.
calls anybody anymore unless it's
Yeah.
your inner circle. When you get a
Yeah.
phone call, you go, there must be something urgent because they didn't schedule it, right?
What's wrong? What's wrong?
What's wrong? Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's nice. And I have some people that do that to me, and I go, this is so good. I'm getting a phone call and I'm going to make time to chat. So thanks for that meditation moment,
Yeah.
right?
So as you're going from, different stages in life, time management is obviously an issue and becomes so you have to prioritize um, who you connect with because of the limited time. How do you do that? What's your system? What could you share with people that want to learn about it?
Okay, so if I were to look at it's kind of related to my time management practices, right? So you think of, what am I working on right now? Who do I need to connect with, and who do I have time for, even though it's not going to lead to anything of value, at least at face, in the beginning. Um, I'm, I've become much better at saying not right now if it's not no
Mm.
altogether.
Hmm.
So I do have a lot of requests coming in. People want my time. There could something could come out of it if I were to give my time to everybody. But I've also learned that there's this thing called a gut instinct, and so I've learned to listen to it more. And I've also learned what is the opportunity cost of saying too many yeses.
Mm.
And so I think that's something you learn when you do realize at some point in life that the most precious commodity we have is time. And so when I decide to get on a half an hour call, 1 hour call, 15-minute call with somebody, if I'm in doubt, I'll very quickly say, what are we trying to accomplish here? Right? If
Yeah.
it's and I've also been known to say, okay, well, there's nothing else to accomplish here. We don't need to use the full hour. So I think it's the vibe that one person can give, I'm known for giving that vibe. I'm in a rush, and so when people see that you're in a rush, they'll 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 get there faster, which is another motto I have in life: get there faster. I mean, the other day I was at a playground sort of thing. There was different games and stuff, and I was waiting for my turn to do something. And this guy was sharing a story with the attendant, and the pace in which they would speak. Mm. It's just it is painful because I knew that their story, which was unnecessary, would take 10 minutes, and it did. And,
Unnecessary
and
moments.
some people operate in, and we're using diesel fuel, others using electricity. So I'm in the latter camp. So I always try to get there faster. And um, one of the things that my wife always says is, you train others how to treat you. So if you expect a certain treatment, the way you behave trains them to give you or not give you that treatment. So yeah, I've become much better in filtering my time based on communicating in subliminal or direct ways that I'm in a rush. Tell me what you need, and I can help.
And I appreciate that. And thank you for saying yes to this, by the way. So,
I did make it sound like you should be thankful. Sorry about
no,
that.
no, it's all good. I
For
understand
clarity,
it.
this is a privilege on my side too. I enjoy
I
talking to people.
understand it and I respect that. That's the whole thing. Um, but let's if you had to give one or two actions that people could take after they listen to this, um, so they could take immediately around connecting and improving connecting the way that they connect, either depth or breadth, it's up to you. What would be
Yeah.
those one or two actions that you would encourage people to take?
It's an action that I've been doing later in life, and I wish I had started sooner. And it's an action that I've learned from my own mentor, who used to be my direct supervisor in my old job in Canada, and with whom I still have a very strong connection with.
Mm.
And it doesn't matter how important you think you are. It doesn't matter how critical the tasks that you have to get done are. If you've consciously decided to give the time of day to person X, start by asking them a question. Right? Start by listening,
Mm.
because I think it's also part of if you feel humble but you act in a different way, then you don't look humble. And so I do feel that I am a humble person. Uh, and that statement, it goes against it, but but the ability to say that, I actually do care and have a certain level of curiosity about what others think, of whatever thing we're going to discuss. But my eagerness and excitement will always get the best of me and have me tell them what I think first.
Mhm.
I think that just tiny little hack, which is why we're called talent hacks. So it's tiny little things you do, right? To just switch that around and say, let's start by you speaking first. But if you're going to do that, consciously listen to what they're saying, as opposed to wait until they stop talking so you can, you know, offer your advice. And doing that for me was really difficult, because it would just, my just energy would just be all about, I want to give value. But sometimes it's just first to listen to, where can I give value? What do you think? What else is going on? That allows you to read the other person better. When you do eventually speak, I think what comes out of your mouth is even more valuable.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for that. And thank you for taking part in levels of connection. And I love the insights, because there were I was taking some notes over here of the different, some of the, many insights that you shared with us. So thank you so much for this. But
Pleasure.
being a coach, I can't, resist myself to ask you, because it's the last question that I always ask, at the end of each session, even though this is not a session. It's what was useful for you today, buddy?
What was useful to me? I think and I know you as a coach as well, Stefan. You have a way to ignite a certain level of thinking in others. So, what was very useful is the self-reflection of the different stages in life, and how I personally, evolve. And we all do, and we never stop. And the ability to recognize that, even if it's a half an hour podcast, to say stop for a second and recognize that, we mature like a good wine over
Mm,
the decades. And it's okay to always never be perfect, right? And pursue something better over the next decade. That was amazing to, again, be reminded of.
thank you for sharing your time and your knowledge and experience. Um, and I always invite my guests to come to Cyprus for for our next conversation that is going to happen whenever we feel to have a follow up to this. But since you are in Cyprus, I'm going to propose something different. I can come to your offices and we can record there, and you can show around people your new offices, which are amazing. How does that sound?
Would be a privilege anytime.
Buddy, thank you very much. I'll see you soon, buddy.
Thank you very much, Stefan. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Thank you for watching and enjoying today's episode with Baris Tomas. You can subscribe and comment below, and I'll make sure to read and to reply to all comments. Thanks again for your continued support and interest in Levels of Connection. See you in the next episode.